Tonight we turn our attention to Alaska, the last frontier. This is a place where the spirit of adventure is alive and well, where the landscape itself seems to challenge anyone who dares to explore it. Here, nature still reigns supreme, stretching out in every direction with a scale and grandeur that dwarfs most of the United States. The forests are endless, the mountains seem to touch the sky, and the silence is broken only by the wind and the call of wild animals. Alaska's coastline is longer than all other states combined, wrapping around the continent with rugged beauty. Its climate is a study in extremes, ranging from lush temperate rainforests in the southeast to the stark frozen tundra of the far north. Each region offers its own unique challenges and rewards. Towering mountains, massive glaciers, and free-roaming wildlife like bears, moose, and eagles define its wild beauty. Glaciers carve their way through valleys, and snow-capped peaks stand as silent sentinels over the land. But Alaska is more than just breathtaking scenery. It's a powerhouse of natural resources. Oil, gas, gold, and some of the world's richest fisheries have drawn people here for decades, fueling both dreams and economies. The land provides, but it also demands respect and resilience. For generations, people have come here seeking opportunity, adventure, and a life defined by self-reliance. From the gold rush pioneers to today's families living in remote communities, Alaskans have always been shaped by the land and the challenges it presents. Alaska's strategic location is vital. Look at a globe and you'll see it sits at the crossroads of the Pacific and Arctic Oceans. Its position makes it a gateway between continents, a place where east meets west and north meets south. U.S. military bases here are essential for national defense, monitoring the top of the world and keeping a watchful eye on emerging threats. Alaska's vast open spaces are a front line in America's security. As Arctic ice recedes due to climate change, Alaska's role as a guardian of American interests only grows. New waters are opening up, and with them, new responsibilities and risks. Yet, these changes bring new challenges. Melting ice opens new shipping routes, making the region more accessible than ever before, but also exposing it to new dangers and competition from around the globe. The world is looking north, and not all intentions are peaceful. International interest in the Arctic is rising, and Alaska finds itself at the center of a growing geopolitical contest. The once quiet frontier is now a contested space with increased military activity and heightened vigilance. The stakes have never been higher. Alaska's wildness and isolation, once its greatest protection, are now at the center of a global power struggle. Headlines around the world are turning their gaze to this remote land. The people who call this place home, indigenous communities, fishermen, families in small towns, are caught in the middle, balancing tradition and change, opportunity and uncertainty. The soul of Alaska is being tested as never before. Its future will be shaped not just by the forces of nature, but by the choices we make today, and the resilience of those who live here. To truly understand Alaska as it stands today, we must look back through the layers of its remarkable past, tracing the events and decisions that shaped its destiny. Long before it became part of the United States, Alaska was a distant and rugged outpost of the Russian Empire. For the Tsar, it was a land of opportunity, prized for its abundant fur-bearing animals, and the profits they brought to Russian traders and settlers. In 1867, facing financial strain from war, and wary of British expansion from Canada, Russia made a historic decision. For $7.20 million, about 2 cents an acre, Alaska was sold to the United States, a transaction that would forever alter the region's fate. At the time, many Americans ridiculed the purchase, calling it Seward's folly after Secretary of State William Seward. To them, Alaska seemed nothing more than a vast, frozen wasteland with little to offer. But perceptions changed dramatically with the Klondike gold rush in the late 1890s. Suddenly, thousands of fortune seekers flooded into Alaska, braving harsh conditions in hopes of striking it rich. This gold rush not only brought wealth but also firmly established America's presence in the region. Decades later, the discovery of vast oil reserves at Prudhoe Bay would once again transform Alaska. The oil boom fueled economic growth, spurred infrastructure development, and ultimately paved the way for Alaska to become the 49th state in 1959. What was once dismissed as a barren icebox became a vital cornerstone of American resource independence, energy security, and national pride. Alaska's story is also deeply intertwined with its unique connection to Russia. Just a narrow stretch of the Bering Strait separates the two nations, a reminder of their shared history and ongoing proximity. Today, as the Arctic's strategic and economic importance grows, old rivalries between the US and Russia are resurfacing. Melting ice is opening new shipping routes and access to untapped resources, making the region a new arena for global competition. The boundaries drawn over 150 years ago are once again in the spotlight, as world leaders debate the future of the Arctic and its resources. The legacy of that fateful sale now shapes the rising tensions and complex diplomacy of the 21st century Arctic, influencing global policy and security. Yet, Alaska's past is not just a story in history books, it lives on in the traditions of native communities, the rhythms of daily life, and the spirit of resilience found across the state. The state's identity is forged from this unique blend of opportunity, adversity, and strategic significance, making Alaska a place like no other in America. The story of Alaska is still unfolding, shaped by its wild beauty, its people, and its ever-evolving role on the world stage. From Seward's Folly to a global hotspot, Alaska's journey is far from over. Its future promises to be as dynamic and influential as its past. Fast forward to July 2025. Alaska is at the heart of a new cold rush. This time it's not gold, but strategic position and resources that are at stake. Melting Arctic ice is opening new shipping lanes, making Alaska a toll gate on a global superhighway. Control of these routes means immense economic and military power. The Aleutian Islands serve as a gateway to the North Pacific and Bering Strait, making Alaska a linchpin of US strategy. The melting ice also reveals vast reserves of oil, gas, and rare earth minerals. The Arctic may hold up to 30% of the world's undiscovered natural gas and 13% of its oil. Global powers, including Russia and China, are investing heavily in the region. The once frozen desert is now a geopolitical hotspot. Alaska is the game board for a complex, high-stakes contest. The decisions made here will ripple across the globe. Alaska's closest neighbor, Russia, is just 55 miles away across the icy waters of the Bering Strait. On a clear day, you can almost imagine seeing the Russian coastline from Alaska's westernmost point, a stark reminder of just how close these two global powers truly are. The old sale of Alaska to the United States in 1867 now feels like ancient history, as new suspicion and competition have taken its place. The border, once a symbol of distant diplomacy, is now a front line of strategic rivalry. Russia has made the Arctic a top priority, pouring resources into reopening and modernizing military bases, deploying advanced air defenses, and stationing thousands of troops in the frozen north. The Kremlin has also launched a powerful fleet of nuclear icebreakers, giving Russia unmatched access to the Arctic's treacherous, ice-choked waters and the resources hidden beneath. Russian military aircraft now regularly test the boundaries of US airspace, flying close to Alaska's shores and keeping American defenses on constant alert. These incursions force American fighter jets to scramble and intercept, leading to tense encounters high above the Bering Sea. Each of these encounters carries the risk of miscalculation, a single mistake that could escalate into a much larger conflict between two nuclear-armed nations. The Bering Strait itself has become a critical choke point not just for commercial shipping but also for military vessels from both sides, as global warming opens new Arctic sea routes. Russia's growing naval and submarine presence in these frigid waters raises serious concerns about who will ultimately control this vital passageway and the resources it leads to. For the people of Alaska, these geopolitical games are not just headlines, they have real, tangible consequences for daily life and security. The thunderous roar of fighter jets overhead is a daily reminder that the new front line of global competition is right here, above their homes and communities. Russia's ambitions in the Arctic are driven by a mix of national pride, economic opportunity, and the desire to project power on the world stage, making the region a flashpoint for future tensions. For Alaskans, the stakes are personal and immediate. Their livelihoods, safety, and way of life are all shaped by the shifting balance of power just across the water. The last frontier is no longer just a land of rugged beauty, it has become the edge of a global contest where the world's superpowers face off in the shadow of the Arctic. Tensions aren't limited to Russia, there's friction with our ally Canada over the Northwest Passage. As the Arctic warms, this once impassable route is now open to shipping. The US sees it as an international strait. Canada claims it as internal waters. This dispute is about sovereignty, security, and environmental protection. Increased shipping raises the risk of confrontation as both nations assert their positions. The US sends ships to assert freedom of navigation, drawing protests from Ottawa. This unresolved issue complicates cooperation in a region where unity is needed. For Alaska, at the western entrance to the passage, the outcome will shape its future as a maritime hub. The challenge balancing national interests with the need for Arctic cooperation. Beyond geopolitics, it's Alaska's indigenous communities who feel the impact most. For the Inupiat, Yupik, and Aleut, the Arctic is home, not a chessboard. Military buildup disrupts their lives, scaring wildlife and reviving Cold War anxieties. Climate change is already forcing villages to relocate as permafrost thaws and coasts erode. Increased shipping threatens their food sources and traditions. These communities want a seat at the table, their knowledge respected in decisions about their land. They are on the front lines of both climate change and global competition. Everyday Alaskans are living this new reality. In Utqiagvik, parents worry about their children's future as sea ice vanishes and military patrols increase. Fishermen in Dutch Harbor face new dangers from increased military and foreign vessel activity. Anchorage, home to a major military base, feels the tension. Economic boosts come with anxiety about being a target. These stories reveal the human cost of rising tensions. Alaskans are resilient and proud, but the frontier they love is changing fast. The abstract ideas of power competition are now daily realities. The state's strategic importance is both a source of pride and worry. Alaskans are navigating a new, uncertain chapter. Their voices remind us what's at stake. Amid rising tensions, efforts for peace continue. The Arctic Council brings together Arctic states and indigenous groups focusing on cooperation and environmental protection. Geopolitical strains threaten this forum, but diplomats work to keep dialogue open. Shared challenges, like climate change and oil spill response, offer common ground. Military communication hotlines are vital to prevent miscalculation. New protocols for Arctic operations are needed to avoid conflict. Elevating indigenous voices and fostering scientific collaboration can build trust. The Arctic's future depends on balancing competition with cooperation. In 2025, Alaska stands at a crossroads. The challenges are immense: environmental change, great power rivalry, and local anxieties. But Alaska's history is one of resilience and adaptation. Its future depends on balancing strategic importance with cultural and environmental stewardship. Investing in communities, listening to indigenous wisdom, and pursuing both deterrence and diplomacy are key. Alaska can be a model for cooperation, not conflict. The story of Alaska is still being written. Its next chapter could be one of peace, partnership, and hope.